Good evening and welcome to the Seth Joyner Show, presented by Bet Parks. And boy, it is a Talk to Him Tuesday, because after that exhibit at Lincoln Financial Field on Sunday night, I had to open it up to you guys because I know that there's a ton that you guys want to talk about. So I'm going to be taking your questions all night. Also, I'm throwing it out to you guys and leaving it up to you. I haven't decided yet what our Whiteboard 101 is going to entail. So if you guys have got some ideas, if there's something you want to see, something you want me to explain, understand why some things went sideways for this football team the other night, throw it my way. We'll put it up on the whiteboard and we will, we'll break it all down. If not, I'll try to come up with something. But I'd like to really, take one of you guys' recommendations, one of you thoughts, and break it all down. Brian's already at it. He says how to tackle. I can only demonstrate that. It'd be hard for me to. It'd be real hard for me to demonstrate on the whiteboard how to make a tackle. I can tell you where guys are supposed to be, and how you're supposed to keep them all funneled in, and a guy on the outside, a guy on the inside, a guy in the middle, how it's supposed to look theoretically, and pursuit angles and stuff like that. But as far as the tackling is concerned, to me, this is one of the things that the collective bargaining agreement got wrong. I understand why things were changed, and spending time with the coaches in the offseason was limited. To really understand that, you got to go back to my day. After my rookie season, from February 28th until the coaches went on vacation in June, we were required. Well, it was voluntary, but it really wasn't voluntary, to be right here in Philadelphia working. And to me, as I look back now, that was the most pivotal offseason of my career, because coming off my rookie year, I was learning the system, but I had an opportunity every single day, 5 days a week, from 9 to about 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, to just watch film, lift weights, work out, get out on the field with my position coach, and go over the technique and the fundamentals of everything that were required of me to continue to develop. And to me, it was pivotal in my second year to taking a monumental step, a monumental jump, and how things transpired. Now, the coaches only get a couple of days. They get a couple of OTAs, 3 or 4 days at a time. The players can work out at the facility, but they can't have any contact with the coaches. And I think that's a massive mistake. That's a massive overcorrection, because it's specifically the young players. They need that off season work with their coach to work on the little small things. That being said, then it spilled over into training camp and how they now practice. They don't hit anymore. They don't tackle anymore. And the quality of the game, when it comes to the physicality of the game and tackling in the game, you can clearly see, how it's affected how some teams play because that's the way that they practice. It's hard to tackle somebody full speed, full boat, when you never ever tackle it. You never even practice it. Why it is that some teams have mastered it and that are very good at it, and why some teams aren't, I don't know. I couldn't put my finger on it. I couldn't tell you why. But what I do know is that the Eagles had probably the worst tackling outing that I've seen them have since Nick Sirianni has been here. And that's saying a lot for a defense, that finished up pretty darn good last year. But going back to the game just for a minute, the 49ers just came in here and put it on the Eagles. Every way, every how. And there's a side of me that wants to kind of give them a little bit of a pass because, to think that they were going to get through this stretch of games and not lose one was probably, a little ambitious. But no one saw them losing in this fashion. They just got outright dominated for 3 quarters. They dominated the first quarter and couldn't put points up on the board other than 2 field goals. And then it felt like, once San Francisco scored a touchdown and then took the lead by 1 and then followed up with another touchdown on the next drive at 14-6, the Eagles were in trouble. And then they consequently went 4 more possessions in a row, which is unconscionable, to take a massive lead in that football game. The Eagles looked tired. They looked listless. They looked non-energetic. I wasn't at the game. I was actually working the pre and post game show that I worked down in Atlantic City on game days. And, from what I was getting texts from people that were at the game, and they were pretty much saying the energy in the stadium, just wasn't there. It was, across every avenue that you can imagine, from the fans to the players to the coaches, that the intensity level just wasn't there. And it was very evident from the word jump that San Francisco came in with their attitude and their energy right where they needed to be, and the Eagles couldn't match it. And by the time you got to halftime, essentially that football game was over. Now, I'm sure we all thought that at some point they'd get it together and come racing back, to win the game in the end, the way they've done it the previous 2 weeks. But, the other word that I like to throw out here is sustainability, because there was a lot of talk, could the Eagles continue to win the way that they were winning? And, when a team is, 9-1, 8-1, 10-1, it's hard to be critical because, there are those out there that don't want you to be critical of what you're seeing. But as an analyst, you're looking at the game not from a fan's perspective, but from, a pure football perspective. And you just knew that at some point in time, the sustainability of how they were playing the game and the way that they were playing the game, it just was going to bite them sooner or later. Offensively, they don't look like they have any flow right now. A lot of quarterbacks, they 3-step drop the balls out their hand. They 5-step drop the balls out of their hand on time and in rhythm. Jalen Hurts, on the other hand, looks like, he's waiting for one guy to get open. And if that guy's not open, now he's in scramble mode trying to make something happen instead of the offense being run, like a machine. Defensively, I'm not so sure what I'm seeing with Sean Desai. I praised him the week before for the adjustments that he made in the previous 2 games, especially in the second half, but he had no answer at all for what San Francisco was doing. They couldn't stop the run in their 4-man line. They couldn't stop the run in the 5-man line. And once they got to a point where they couldn't stop the run, they couldn't stop their offense because, like I told you guys last week, that's Christian McCaffrey in the run game and Deebo Samuel in the jet sweep game. That's what really makes this defense, that offense go. So at the end of the day, hey, listen, it's, the chickens have come home to roost as far as sustainability and how they have been playing. But the sky isn't falling, Chicken Little, either. Everything that they want is right there in front of them. It's attainable. I think right now we're going to find out who this Philadelphia Eagles team truly is. Because going down to Dallas isn't going to be easy. Are they going to be able to, can they pull it off? Sure they can. There's no doubt about it. They're talented enough, and they beat Dallas before. Their mindset right. They go in there with the right focus. Absolutely, they can beat Dallas. Dallas hasn't lost a home game in 14 games. The Eagles haven't lost back-to-back games since week 16 and 17 last year when Gardner Minshew took over for injured Jalen Hurts. And then I believe you have to go all the way back to 2011 was the last time that the Eagles actually swept, um, the season series, won both games. Um, no better time to reset those elements. And I believe the Eagles can do it because the one thing that they do, they very rarely follow up a bad game, with another bad game. They usually bounce back. They usually rebound, and I'm looking for them to do that. I'm picking them to actually win this game. Um, this week in a shootout 32-28. Yeah, I'm just going to get it out there right now. And, let's see how this team responds. Um, I talked about being critical of the football team, from an analytical standpoint in the media. Had a little dust up this week, with Darius Slay. Have nothing but respect for the guy and what he does because I've lived that and I know what that's truly all about. Um, but when players don't play with great intensity and tackling is an attitude, tackling, you know, is a mindset. When you tackle the way that they tackled, and the quote was, the cornerbacks looked like they were scared to death, to tackle Debo Samuel and tackle in that game. When you don't come with the fire and you don't bring the thunder and you don't bring the lightning, um, it kind of signifies that either A, you're not prepared, B, you're out there making business decisions, or you are afraid. It's that simple. Now, I can't get in someone's heart and tell you whether, they were actually afraid or not, but I'm looking at the game and I'm watching the film, and the film is just telling me, that they were making business decisions all day when it came to Debo Samuel. No one wanted to come up and lay any wood on this guy. You know, I took a little bit of heat on social media because I said in post game that somebody need to come up, pop him on his knee. You know, it's figurative because the NFL doesn't want you to hit players from here up anymore. So most guys are being hit, from the thigh down. So that's more or less the point that I was making. Somebody need to come with full speed, full blast, aiming just above the thigh with the intent to snap the femur in half. Okay. And then let's see how hard Debo really wants to run. Now, if people have a problem with that, you have a problem with it because you know what? That's the game of football. That is what the NFL is promoting now, that we would rather tear ACLs and injure knees than to see guys get hit up high and have, head issues. So if that's the way you're going to play, you know, how many you watch Zach Cunningham try to not Zach, but Nicholas Morrow try to tackle him up high, Debo Samuels, shrugged him off 48 yards to the house. Okay. As a linebacker, hey, I always went high because that's the way, I felt like I was big enough to take anybody and strong enough to take anybody down. But when you're playing against a wide receiver that's 230 pounds and can run, you got to take away his transporters. His transporters are his legs. And when you start hitting guys with speed and velocity and veracity around the legs, they stop running. Okay. So that's the message that you have to send as a defensive player. That's the message that Sean Desai has got to express to these guys. When I looked at the film again and I'm watching San Francisco, their linebackers, their safeties, their corners, they're coming up with a sense of urgency. Um, and when you're playing defensive football, it has to be a sense of urgency. When I watch the Philadelphia Eagles defense sometimes, I see guys standing around waiting for somebody else to make the tackle, waiting for somebody else to make the play. No, you can't play defense that way. Every single guy on that defense has to have the mindset that guy's got the ball. It's up to me to go and make this tackle. If I don't make it, it's not going to get made. Now, when you get 11 guys buying in that way, now you got a special defense. Everybody's flying to the ball. Everyone's running to the ball. Everyone's getting to the ball with nasty intentions because that's the way the game is meant to be played. I'm not so sure that I see that from the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know if they were tired. Probably. People want to talk about the 3 games in 13 or 14 days. Yeah, I know it's hard. I know it's hard sometimes. I've been there where you play a game, it's hard, a very emotional game. It's hard to get up the next week. It's hard to get your adrenaline up the next week. And they just got done playing two very emotional games against, Buffalo and who else did they have to come back from behind? Um, my mind is at my mind is toast right now as far as the schedule is concerned. But they played two games where Kansas City. They had to come back in back-to-back weeks against two of the better teams in the National Football League. That takes a lot of energy. That taps into your adrenaline stores. And sometimes it's hard to get back up from one week to another, especially when you're playing against a team that's coming off of 11 days rest. So listen, they're going to be fine. Um, the coaching staff, in my opinion, is a smart coaching staff. The players have enough veteran leadership, guys that have been there and done it to drag these young guys along and express to them the urgency of the moment. Because make no mistake about it, this game in Dallas on Sunday is a must-win game. It's a must-win game because if they lose to Dallas, they move from the number 1 seed to the 5 seed like that, okay? Now Dallas has the upper hand in well, I'm not sure about that, but they're tied as far as the division is concerned. Now San Francisco has a 1-game lead, or they have the tiebreaker, I should say, as far as the number 1 seed is concerned. So this game is pivotal. It's a must-win game. I think that over the next 2-3 weeks, all of these games have to be at playoff tempo, at playoff pitch, and they've got to figure out a way to get up, get it going, and get the job done. And I believe that they will. I'm not one of those people that believe because they had one bad game that it's all for naught. They were not going to just go through the season, only lose one game or go undefeated for that matter. Okay. So this is about the perfect time for them to, have a game like this to kind of reset, open their eyes, and get them to refocus on really how they need to play the game and what they need to be doing and the intensity level by which they need to approach each and every game. All right. Listen, you're listening to the Seth Joyner Show presented by Bet Parks. Um, Please make sure that you hit that like button. Make sure that you're leaving comments. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Most importantly, please go to the YouTube page and subscribe and tell everybody we're breaking it down here every week with some a couple of guests from time to time. But like I said, today is a day where I need to jump into you guys' questions and address some of the things that you have. And right now, boom, let's jump into that right now. All right. Mr. Singh wants to know, hey, Seth, if you were defense coordinator, what would you do differently? I just feel like that's Javier, right? I feel like the Eagles need to play a more aggressive style of defense. I understand not wanting to give up big plays and want to create big plays on the offensive side of the ball. But defense has to be aggressive because the offense knows where it's going. It knows the snap count. It knows the play. As a defensive player, you're trying to read and react to everything that you see. The problem with that, you're always a step behind. And to a certain extent, it causes you to be a little passive and be a little conservative because you're trying to figure it out. When you put your team in a more aggressive posture, whether it's man coverage or whether you're coming after, teams with blitzes, now you're trying to take the pressure and you're trying to put it on the other side of the ball. Like the Eagles couldn't stop the run the other night. I'm positive that Sean Desai has some run blitzes, in his playbook. Why aren't we running run blitzes on first and second down so that we can get the run game under control and win on first down so that, we have an opportunity to be successful on third down? The Eagles are awful on third down, 73% or 71% on third down efficiency again this week. They couldn't get off the field. They could not get off the field, whether it was a dumb penalty or whether it was not being able to make a stop when they needed to make it. The 49ers were 8 for 11 after giving up last week 13 for 22. You can't You can't survive that way, And my answer is, more aggression. When was the last time we had an interception? When was the last time we caused a fumble? When was the last time we recovered a fumble? You know, those things happen in the game. Turnovers come as a result of pressure and by you forcing them. They call it forcing a turnover for a reason, because you force a team into making a mistake. The team's not going to lay the ball on the ground. The quarterback's not going to throw you the ball. You're forcing him to make a bad throw, and you're forcing that running back or wide receiver or tight end or quarterback, for that matter, to loose the ball with the aggressive nature by which you play. And as long as they continue to play a passive style of defense, they're going backwards in every statistical category, every last one of them. I mean, they're last in red zone, damn near last in red zone defense rather. They're damn near last, in the bottom four in third down conversions. They're giving up yards in the passing game at a crazy clip. Every time you turn around, some quarterback is posting 300 yards on him. Brock Purdy, 314 yards and 4 passing touchdowns. Josh Allen, over 300 yards passing. It just, if you're not applying pressure, then the offense is applying pressure to you, and I just feel like they've got to be more aggressive. You can't rely on the pass rush all day long. You can't ask the 4 down linemen in passing situations to get home all the time. Sometimes you have to creatively speed up the clock of the quarterback and force him to make bad decisions and make bad throws. And they're not doing that right now. They're not even doing it on first down. When the quarterback, and I didn't even get on the run game, they were the number 1 ranked rush defense 2 weeks ago. Now they've trended all the way up to like 5th in rush. And it'll continue to go up if they can't figure out how to stop the run without having to always jump in their 5-man line. That's an effect of the linebackers and how they're playing. Okay. That's a pretty long rant to get to Javier's question. But, when you ask me a question like that, you get my blood pressure up, because I'm always in the camp of, let's be more aggressive. Let's, in second down situations, bring some pressure. Let's, in third and long situations, instead of, being 3rd and 8, instead of us lining up at 10 and trying to break up and make the tackle, which this team doesn't tackle well, why don't we get up and challenge people at the line of scrimmage and force the quarterback to make great throws, and then bring pressure and force him to make, great decisions. If you're just going to let him sit back there, that's one less thing that he has to worry about, the fact that you might bring pressure. They did the same thing in the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes wasn't worried about any pressure, because Jonathan Gannon showed him all game long that we're unwilling to come after you because we're afraid you're going to beat us deep. You can't win football games playing scared. You just can't do it on the defensive side of the ball. These offenses are too good. So, and I'm not talking about just all-out blitzing all the time, but situationally pick your spots. If you got 3rd and 14, who says that you have to play sticks? Go to man, get your cornerbacks 5 yards off the ball, anticipate, the slant routes, the out routes, the stop routes. Come up and make the cornerbacks take your shot. Come up, make the tackle, get off the field. Because if you don't, even if it's 3rd and 15, you give up 13 yards and the team decides that your opponent decides that they're going to punt, guess what? You still gave up 13 yards of real estate that now the offense has to go and take back. So it's just a philosophical way of looking at the game. And for me, you got to pressure. You got to pressure. There's times where you're telling your defensive line, hey, we need you to get home. But there's other times where it's like, hey, you tell your cornerbacks, hey, knuckle up. We're sending them. You got that guy man to man. It's his manhood against yours. Okay. You need to hold him down for 3 to 5 seconds while we get to this quarterback and either get a sack or force him to make a bad throw or force him to throw it away. But we're not going to just sit back and let teams do what they want all game and just march up and down the field and then get in the red zone and think that all of a sudden we can now become more aggressive and play more man coverage in the red zone and it's going to work out. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. All right. All right. Anthony Falco, thoughts on Decide. There you go, Ant. That's my buddy Anthony. Appreciate you tuning in, and um, appreciate the question. Much like your boy, Jonathan Gannon and Anthony. I'm going to say this: I believe that Jonathan Gannon's passivity stems from the belief of Nick Sirianni, because Jonathan Gannon is down in Arizona blitzing his ass off. I mean, he is bringing pressure from all over the place. So that tells me, if that's his mindset now that he's a head coach and he's running his own show, that tells me that Nick Sirianni had a hand in and a voice in how he called his defenses last year. You know, and Sean Desai as well, because early in the season when he was aggressive, the cornerbacks were playing 10 yards off the ball. That's an oxymoron. You can't bring pressure and then have your cornerbacks 10 yards off the ball and think you're going to stop a team with a competent quarterback that can see the extra guys in the box or see you posturing to bring pressure, and he can just raise up and throw the ball outside, and he's got a cornerback standing out there dancing 5 yards away from him, scared to death that he's going to go by him. You know, so listen, I think that in a lot of ways, there are times when Sean decides, his hands are tied. I think on Sunday, his hands were tied, because once the San Francisco 49ers got to their run game and the Eagles couldn't stop it, which they normally do with their five-man front, and even in their five-man front, they couldn't slow down the run game of San Francisco. Christian McCaffrey, 17 carries for 93 yards and a rushing touchdown. Wasn't, a great day, but it was enough to balance up their offense and to bring alive, play action pass, bootlegs, and misdirection plays for Brock Purdy, and get him out of the pocket. So until they get that run game squared away, they continue to put Sean Desai, in my opinion, in a bad position, because now he's trying to figure out how to call his defenses. And when you can't control the run, that opens up the playbook for an offense, and it ties the hands of a defensive coordinator from the standpoint of what he can call and what he wants to call. All right. Mike Hall wants to know what I think about Shaq Leonard, how will he help the defense? Listen, I had Ray Didinger on my TV show. You guys can catch that on PHL 17 tomorrow night at 11 p.m. and on NBC Sports Philadelphia at 11 p.m. on Thursday nights. But I had Ray Didinger on my TV show today. We taped, and we had this conversation about Shaq today. And I asked Ray, is this a fix? Is it an immediate fix, or is this just a Band-Aid? I don't think anybody really knows. We'll find out on Sunday how much he has left. He's traditionally been a great player, but there's also a reason why a team releases a guy who they are committed to $6 million. He's got guaranteed money that the Colts have to pay him. There's a reason why they decided to let him go. There's a reason why he went to Dallas, and Dallas didn't make him an offer, that he couldn't refuse, and he just stayed there. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, from a football knowledge standpoint and from an experience standpoint, because right now we have two linebackers that are starting who traditionally have been special teams players, and for the first time in their careers, they are now starting at linebacker. You know, so that's difficult. They probably haven't played linebacker on a consistent basis since they both were in college. But Darius Leonard is a guy, from a mental standpoint, from a psychological standpoint, and from an experiential standpoint, he is a guy who's already light years better than, what they already have, because he knows where to look. He knows what to key on. He knows how to pattern read, when he's in his drop. He understands how to cover guys man to man the proper way. Well, these guys are learning on the job. So it's an upgrade, but we'll see how much production he can actually give us, particularly in the run game, because that's where the Eagles really get hurt, is in the run game with their run fits, especially in the four-man front, not understanding. I explained to you guys last week in the whiteboard session, we talked about where the linebackers need to fit and how they need to come down and take the double teams off the tackles. And if they don't do that right now, what problems that creates for them. Even in their five-man line, the other thing that the San Francisco did the other day is that, you got your 5-man line with your 2 guys on the outside, Sweat and Reddick, and then you cover up the guard in the center with the 3 tackles. Well, those guys were too tight, in my opinion, on the guards. They needed to be either in a 4-eye or tilted out in a 3 technique to keep San Francisco from running off guard or in between the guard and the tackles. You know, and I was watching it in game, and I'm like, man, if they don't kick those 2 tackles on the outside out, they're going to have problems. And it's exactly what began to happen, because early in the game they couldn't run the ball up the middle. They couldn't run the ball up the middle at all, San Francisco. But once they started getting on the outside shoulders of the guards and out on the edges towards the tackle, that's where they really began to make hay, because the linebackers, their reads were just so late, and the safeties' read was so late that by the time they got up there, a blocker was standing there waiting for them. And, you had man on blocker instead of beating the guy to the point of attack and making the tackle. They got some things to fix, man. They really do. They really got some things to fix. And I'm hopeful that they can get it fixed. Give me RLT Universe for the next question there. Come down. You'll see it right there. There's some things that they got to get fixed. And hopefully, Darius Leonard will be a big part of that. RLT wants to know, with 1 first round and 2 twos in the draft, do you draft a linebacker with one of those picks, or take a chance of free agency with one of the following: Queens, White, Bush, David, or Wagner? Well, listen, I believe that you have to have good linebackers in order to be good on defense. If you want proof of that, look at San Francisco. They got 2 of the best linebackers in Greenlaw and Warner in the league. Look at the Baltimore Ravens. They got Patrick Queen and they got Roquan Smith, 2 of the best linebackers in the game. You're talking about 2 of the best defenses in the National Football League. So at least you got to have one. You got to have one ass kicker at linebacker. You can't be deficient at both of those positions, because especially when you have to go dime and you drop a safety in the box, now all of a sudden, that guy's got to be able to man, the 5-man look when they go to empty and things of that nature. He's got to be a straight up playmaker. Now, we know the Eagles aren't going to use a 1st or 2nd round draft pick on a linebacker. That's okay. But at least use a 3rd or a 4th and go get a bona fide guy that's played linebacker for some time and has experience as a linebacker, as a starting linebacker. That's necessary. You just need it, Now, how we can swindle somebody out of another 2, or swindle them out of another 3, or somehow, somehow work magic and get another 1, then yeah, use it, because those guys are difference makers. They're difference makers. You can't put it all on your defensive line and skimp on your linebackers. You just can't do that. It's the same way. You can't skimp. You can't put all your money in your cornerbacks and then don't put any money in your safety. Now, Reed Blankenship, great. He's coming along. He's learning on the job. I really believe in him and think that he's going to be a great player for them. But they've neglected all the other safety spots, all these other guys you try to plug and play. You can't keep doing that in spots where, because what good offensive coordinators and what good coaches do is they lock in on, the deficiencies that you have. So if they feel like they can get a matchup issue like San Francisco did with Nicholas Morrow and Christian McCaffrey, they're going to take advantage of it. Okay, that one play where they short motion Christian McCaffrey out lateral to where he was lined up, or horizontal to where he was lined up in the backfield, and ran him on a corner route against Morrow. What people don't realize is they ran that same play in the first half, same motion, same everything. They ran it to the other side. And because we got early pressure on Brock Purdy, he had to throw the ball away. But they turned around and came back to that play and made a huge play on that, because Josh Morrow can't cover him. He can't cover him not playing him technically the way that he covers him. And maybe that's what I'll break down. I'll kind of give you guys an idea when you're covering running backs out of the backfield man to man in our 101. That'll be one. I'm still looking for someone to ask that question, what do you guys want me to break down in the 101? I'll break down two. Okay. But that's another thing. It's the technique of how you cover a running back. I was never a proponent of covering a running back out of the backfield and waiting for him to come to me. Okay. I always wanted to eat up the space and force him to release where I wanted him to release. And now I'm in good coverage and I can take my shot on him. I can get my hit on him and kind of throw him off course a little bit. But when you cover the way that they cover, the running back comes out of the backfield, they're lined up at 5 yards, they shuffle across at 5 yards, and now when they get head up on the running back has a two-way go on him. You can't cover a guy that runs faster than you are, that's more skilled than you are, that can shake and bake, and you can't. You're not gonna be able to cover him like that, So I'm moving up. I'm moving up to 3 yards, and I'm looking at where he's aligned. If he's lined up on the outside leg of the tackle, that tells me right now he's coming out. He's not running the ball back inside lined up there. He's going to be closer to the running back so he can get the ball right now. All these little small things that make a massive difference in your ability to cover. To me, these are the things that are missing in the game of football right now. Tom Brady talked about it last week about how much the game has changed, how much softer it is, and how much the product has been lessened because there are coaches in this game who could teach you X's and O's, but they don't know a damn thing about teaching you about the technique and the fundamentals of playing football. Like when a linebacker comes downhill on an offensive lineman, you can't run 230 pounds into a guy that weighs 330 pounds and let him get his hands on you because he's just going to hold you. He's going to swallow you up and eat you. Okay. So if my gap responsibility is on his outside, I'm attacking his outside shoulder to keep my outside arm free so that when I hit him, same foot, same shoulder with the inside foot and shoulder, now I can rock him back. And now I'm going to use that both hands to get him off of me. But I see our linebackers come downhill and run plays against blocking schemes, and they just get swallowed up. They get eaten up, by offensive linemen. The Kobe Dean, he just completely gets lost sometimes. He gets completely swallowed up. And it's a technique thing. This is something that can be fixed through technique, And I don't understand why these coaches don't understand that. Being able to cover running backs out of the backfield is a technique issue. Being able to cover tight ends is a technique issue, And I'm not making this up. This is something that I learned early on in my career, how to cover and how to play the game and understanding blocking schemes and where teams are trying to run the ball. And I get it. Teams now do more key breaking than at any other time. They'll pull two guards to the left and run the ball to the right away from the blockers. I get that. But you can rectify that through film study and through proper vision, because I'm not just looking at the offensive lineman pulling, but I'm expanding my vision enough to see. I'm seeing the uncovered lineman, I'm seeing the quarterback, and I'm seeing the running back all through my peripheral vision. And if you can't do that as a linebacker, then you have no business on the field playing if you can't see all of that, and you got to also be anticipating. One more question before we go to a quick break. Gary Combs wants to know, is a quarterback holding on to the ball way too long? Yeah, Gary, I kind of addressed this in my opening. I'm not so sure that I see Jalen operating as efficiently as he has early in the season. I kind of get the sense that it's the design of the pass plays. Listen, the Eagles want to be explosive in the pass game. A lot of their routes are 10 to 12 yards, 10 to 15 yards down the field. That's problematic because, first of all, it takes time to get down the field that far. And the other thing is, when you're playing against aggressive teams that will take their shot and will jam wide receivers at the line of scrimmage, that even delays the process even that much longer. I want to see the Eagles be able to, have route combinations that always gives Jalen an out short. There's nothing wrong with taking the 5-yard dump off. Okay. On first down, that makes it 2nd and 5. Now you can come back on second down, and now you got the defense, by the throat, because you can go play action pass, you can run it again, or you can just straight drop back and throw the ball again, knowing that you're in a manageable situation to convert on third down. But when you're not winning on first down and it's 2nd and 10, most good aggressive coordinators, they're going to try to put you even further behind the sticks. They're going to come after you on second down, whether it's a run blitz or a pass blitz. If it's a run blitz, they're just going to play the run on the way to the quarterback. And when you're as pass heavy as the Eagles like to be, for example, let me find it here for you. This number will blow your mind. In the first half of Sunday's game, Jalen Hurts threw the ball 22 times. They ran the ball a total of 9 times. Okay. And 2 of those runs were for Jalen Hurts. So realistically, that's a formula that doesn't work. It just doesn't work, because you made yourself one-dimensional for a defense that thrives off you making teams one-dimensional. They want to stop you from running the ball. They came into the game tied with the Eagles, for run defense. They want to stop the run, and they want to force you to throw the ball so they can unleash their pass rush. And Brian Johnson and Nick Sirianni played right into their hands. They made themselves one-dimensional, much more so than San Francisco made them one-dimensional, strictly because they decided to throw the ball like it was going out of style instead of trying to establish the run. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll jump into the breakdown. Hopefully, my producer can find me something that you guys want me to touch on today. But I'll also break down, how you actually cover running backs out of the backfield man-to-man. Be back in a sec.
When you open the BetParks app, you're in the zone. Winning is always a rush, but the money is in the moments. It's the confidence and underdogs covering, the tension before a clutch turnover, and the pride of a parlay paying off. It's another chance to win big with all-day action. Plus, win your first $10 bet and get $125 in sports bonus bets. You play for fun, you love to win. You bet. BetParks.
If you understand that success is built on trusted relationships and dependable performance, Mid-Penn Bank is the right bank for you. We're on a mission to prove that the right bankers can make a big difference. We work harder, we get things done, and we're in your corner. With financial centers strategically located throughout the greater Philadelphia region and new locations in central New Jersey, we're ready to bring you the best in commercial and personal banking. Call or visit us today to connect with a professional Mid-Penn banker. Member FDIC. Go Eagles!
Welcome to Bridgeview Partners, where IT and business innovation merge. We're not just another tech company. We're your strategic partner in navigating the ever-evolving digital landscape. Our team of experts tailors cutting-edge solutions to fit your unique needs, and ensuring your success is our top priority. Elevate your business with Bridgeview Partners. Discover the power of partnership and tech innovation today. Contact us now to experience the difference. Bridgeview Partners, where innovation meets excellence.
All right, guys, welcome back. This is the Seth Joyner Show, brought to you by BetParks. Let's jump into our whiteboard session here, and like I said, I'm gonna try to figure out, explain to you guys how you actually cover a running back out of the backfield. So, if this is your quarterback here, and here's your running back, here's your center. For the most part, when a running back is coming out of the backfield, he wants to get a little wider, okay? His intent to get out wider is so that he doesn't have to go from here to here. He's now out here. As a linebacker, if you're going to cover this guy man-to-man, what I see our linebackers do, and most linebackers in the league now, what they do is when this guy starts to release, they start working sideways, okay? Now, you got 10 yards of space. You got 10 yards space in between you two. That's way too much. And then the other problem is once the running back starts to release, if I'm aligned here from here, now I'm head up on him. You understand? So if I'm head up on him and I'm waiting for him, he's got a two-way go on me. It makes it very, very difficult, for me to be able to cover him. The best way and the smartest way, in my opinion, is that the minute that I see this guy start to release, I'm going to eat up space inside out. Okay. And what I want to do is I want to get to a mesh point right about here where I jam his inside shoulder and I force him to release outside. Now, once I jam him and I force him to release outside, now I'm just going to get on his inside hip and I'm just going to roll with him. Okay. Now, this is where it gets really dicey and where teams and coaches really get afraid, is because as long as I'm even with him across the board here, if I'm even with him, that's problematic. Okay. What I want to do is I want to let him get slightly ahead of me. Okay. And I want to be 1 yard inside and 1 yard behind him. Okay. So if he breaks out, okay, I can get in the passing lane. Okay. If he breaks in, I'm in the passing window. Okay. If he runs a shake route and runs a seam, I'm in the passing window. I don't care what he does right now. I'm getting in the window right now to shut this window between he and the quarterback. Okay. And the fact that you come up and you take away the inside right now, you pretty much get rid of the Texas route. That's the route where he comes here and comes underneath. Okay. So you want to close that window. Now, one of the reasons why you see this technique not being taught much anymore is because of 11 personnel, which is one back, one tight end. You have to go a single safety, and teams are scared to death of this one route, in my opinion, in the single high safety. The one route that makes it difficult for this linebacker, is if he pushes up and he runs a corner route, because I'm inside and behind him. Now he's running away from me and I'm in a chase position. A good quarterback will drop back, look this way, and come back this way, holding that safety here. Now the safety has a hard time getting over there. Okay. It's a lot easier, out of two high safety, because out of two high safety, you got a guy over the top. I know that I have help over the top. So when he breaks, I'm screaming like crazy, knowing that I'm going to have safety help over the top, But this is the reason why you see teams play so much outside man technique, and you see so many slant routes, even on the outside. If I got a wide receiver out here and a cornerback lined up on him, okay, and he's playing outside technique, he's going to stem the corner out and run the slant. A.J. Brown makes a living off of this route. Look at the passing window that's open all the time, okay? Now, again, if I'm playing cornerback over here and I line up and I take away the inside and I jam that inside shoulder, he releases outside and I release underneath, okay? I've got the sideline as the 12th man, okay? I'm trying to get him as close to the sideline as I can. That's the first thing. The other thing, the same principles work here. I can get safety help, but I'm in a much better position because I can get in phase with this guy and not and take away and close the window to all of these routes. Anything inside, I'm in the window. Anything outside, I'm in the window. Anything over the top, I'm inside the entire way. What's the one route that scares the hell out of coordinators and has caused teams to actually run defenses, man-to-man defenses, the way that they do? This guy cuts his split down. He runs a corner route against inside technique. The cornerback jams, runs with him. When he breaks out, he's running away from him. And if you got single high safety, he ain't getting over there. Or he runs a corner, stutter, and go. That cornerback is dead, okay? So therein lies the issues, in the man-to-man coverage and why it's so difficult, to cover. It's the fear of the over-the-top stuff, for one. It's the fear of you only being able to have one safety to help that corner, help that linebacker. Um, but it truly is the fear of defensive coordinators in today's game, that they're so afraid to give up the big play that they're afraid to play, much more aggressively. Now if I was coaching my linebackers and I had a guy who had the skill set to be a good um, man-to-man coverage linebacker, I would teach him that way, because even though the corners may play outside technique and man, and they're trying to force everything back to the middle of the field, it's impossible for a linebacker to play it that way. Even when I played tight ends, it was the same exact way. I would line up head up on him, but on the snap of the ball, I would step inside, jam with my outside hand, force the outside release, and now I'm in prime position to be able to run with him on any route that he can throw at me. The only route that gave me fits was the 7 route, the corner route, because that's the only route that I couldn't cover, because from a technical standpoint, he had an advantage. Now, if I had 2 high safeties, I'm going to force that quarterback to throw that ball outside and over the top. Now I got safety help out there. But any other route, I could eat it up like good birthday cake every day of the week, because from a technical standpoint, I was set up to actually do that. But now, like I said, with 11 personnel and 10 personnel in the game now, there's 4 wideouts and 1 back. Defensive coordinators are just scared to death to play inside man in any capacity. They're just afraid to get beat deep. And these cornerbacks, they get up in jam, they get up in press coverage, and they're scared to death to put that inside hand on the guy. You see our cornerbacks do it all the time. They line up and bump, they open up their hips, they open the gate swings open, the guy runs right by him, and you just got to be more aggressive at the line of scrimmage and figure out a way to be more physical with these wide receivers at the line of scrimmage. You see guys get up on our wide receivers all the time and fight them at the line of scrimmage. Yeah, you may lose some battles, but I think you're going to win more battles than you lose, because even if you're jamming these guys in zone situations, you got to realize all of these routes are set up to hit a certain point at a certain time, and these routes are developed to beat certain coverages. That's the other thing I don't see the Eagles doing. I don't see them, with routes that are designed to beat cover 3, cover 2, cover 4, man coverage. You hear, coverage beaters all the time. I don't see the Eagles really per se having their offense set up in a way where Jalen is reading a coverage pre-snap and saying to himself, okay, check. We're going to check to this play because this play beats this coverage, but teams do it against us all the time. That's why you see these quarterbacks that we play throw the ball with great rhythm and great timing. But when you get up and you jam the receivers and you be physical with them and you challenge them at the line of scrimmage, the thing that you do, you throw the timing off. Because if I'm covering a guy and he's the primary and I can get a jam on him at the line of scrimmage and I can slow him down, now when he's supposed to be at 12 yards and he's at 10, guess what? The quarterback's got to go to the second read. He can't wait for that guy to get to 12 because the time is just being thrown off. Now you speeding him up. Now he's feeling a little bit uncomfortable because where he wanted to go with the ball, where the call played for him to go with the football, you've taken that away just by your aggressive posture. Okay, that's my viewpoint, on it all, and that to my viewers, question earlier, that's what I would change in the way that we play. Now you don't have to play that way all the time, but I think you have to give offenses a version of that from time to time, and you got to disguise it. You got to make it look like you're going to play soft and then jump to a more aggressive posture. You got to look like you're going to play in a non-aggressive posture and then jump to a more aggressive. I don't see our cornerbacks moving. I don't see our linebackers moving around. I don't see our cornerbacks getting up and getting back, line up inside and on the snap of the ball getting outside. I don't see them lining up outside and on the snap of the ball jumping inside. You just don't see that. And those are the types of things that screws with the mind of not only the wide receiver, but it screws with the pre-snap read in the mind of the quarterback, because he thinks he has one thing 1 minute, he's got something completely different. I, for the most part, don't even see us really disguising our coverages the way that we need to. You got to be able to show one thing and roll to another. You saw it last week with Bradbury's interception that changed that entire game, but I didn't really see anything, from that perspective this week against the 49ers. We just lined up and played. And if you give an able quarterback a pre-snap read, he's going to beat you. He's going to find out ways to beat you. All right, so let's jump back into our questions. Jay wants to know what I think of Jeremiah Trotter. Hey, listen, he's the number one linebacker coming out in the draft this year. Teams that value linebackers, to be honest with you, somebody's going to draft him in the first round. A team that values, great play at linebacker, going to draft him in the first round. Would love to see him, come in here and be able to do what his dad does, what his dad did. Phenomenal player, playmaker, the whole deal. Complete skill set. But by the time, we get a chance to pick, I promise you he's going to be gone. And if he's not gone, Howie's not going to draft him, with the number one pick or with our first round pick. That's just a fact. All right. Doofy wants to know thoughts on Brian Johnson. Listen, I think that Brian Johnson, for the most part, has done some good things. I think he's had some off days. I think he's been out. He got out coached last week against Kyle Shanahan. There was a lot of strategy going on, a lot of chess being played. And while Kyle was playing chess, I get the sense that Sean Desai was playing checkers. And I'm talking about Sean, and you asked about Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson, listen, I think that Brian has a mandate about how they want to run their offense. I think Nick Sirianni has much more say in how the plays are called and what they're doing than we would know. But we'll find out, because Nick Sirianni in his press conference this week, he said, hey, listen, we got to do a better job of establishing the run. We've got to run the football more. I don't think I've ever heard Nick Sirianni say that. Okay. So we'll find out this week. If that's the case, then we'll know that Nick Sirianni has had more say in how the offense was actually being run than anyone understood, knew, or believed. Okay. Rodney Burton want to know why not use Julio more. Listen, Julio gets a lot of reps. He gets a lot of plays. He's just not the primary in any of the things that we're doing. Why? I don't know. He's a big body. He's not what he used to be, but with a body that size, he can position the way that A.J. Brown positions himself and make some plays for us, especially, when you got him in the slot and you got a guy that's playing off of him. He knows how to run routes. He knows how to set up, defenders, and how to get, how to get open. Why he's not getting more balls, especially on first and second down, to either, I would like to see the Eagles implement a more intermediate passing game. If you're gonna be more run pass heavy, then be more pass heavy to the extent that you're looking to take what the defense is giving you and take that 4, 5, 6 yards on first or second down, rather than trying to always push the ball down the field. Because if you're running the ball and then you go and play action passes and you're getting those short to intermediate throws, and that means you're going to move the chains, and that means that you're going to be in a situation on third down where you can convert, where you can get to, your tush push. They can get that from 3rd and 2. They don't have to run the ball or pass the ball on third down. They can get 2 yards, on the brotherly shove, but they got to get to that. They got to win more on first down, whether that means running the ball or throwing the ball short on short to intermediate in those situations. But Julio Jones, hey, he's a guy that I think, that they could use, that they haven't used. You saw him, target Quez, who has been like Casper the Ghost this season. They targeted him 3 times last week. Luckily, he caught the ball and made something happen. But why not use a guy like Julio Jones if you sign him and you brought him in and he has the ability to help you, design some plays this earmark for him on first down while you're trying to take away Devontae and you're trying to take away, A.J. Brown. Use that matchup, because he's got a 3rd or a 4th, cornerback on him he certainly, in my opinion, even at this point in his career, can win those battles. Okay. Todd wants to know where is the mystery man, Rashad Perry? Hey, listen, I, and everybody else wants to know. I just believe that Boston Scott's been good enough when they've given him opportunities, and he's only been getting 1 or 2 touches a game. I feel like DeAndre Swift is so underutilized that it's ridiculous. Maybe they're trying to keep him healthy and have him ready down the stretch for the stretch run. But I also believe that, they feel like Kenneth Gainwell is a guy who has great upside. They still believe in him. So the way that things shook out, Kenneth Gainwell was supposed to be the guy until he got hurt, and then DeAndre Swift showed them what he was all about. And then coming back, they weren't willing to put Rashad Penny in a situation that superseded his spot, over Kenneth Gainwell. So this is what it's going to be. There's a lot of people that's calling for that. A lot of people that's calling, hey, where you sign a guy, why not give him some carries? Why not give him 4 or 5 touches a game, in a change-up mode? But they love Kenneth Gainwell. And, they're not going to move off of that. I don't know whether that's a Nick Sirianni thing or whether that's a Howie Roseman thing because, they drafted the kid. All right. Let's get a few more questions in before we roll out. Seth, are we screwed? Listen, Philadelphia, listen to me. I get it. It was ugly. Okay. But that's the National Football League. As good as this team has played this year, they haven't looked unbeatable all season long. Each game that they were in, it was a fight to the end. And they got to Sunday and they were 10-1. Okay? Best record in the league. They had a bad game. The coach said they had a bad game. The coach said that they got out-coached. The players said that they had a bad game. The players said that, San Francisco was the better team that day. I don't agree with everybody else that San Francisco, just because of how they played in one game, is the better team. I do believe that on specific days that certain teams can be better than you. And it was clear that the 49ers were the better team last Sunday. But the Eagles aren't in trouble here. All the Eagles got to do is go down to Dallas and win this football game on Sunday, and they'll be right. Everything will be right before them. They'll be perfect. They'll be fine. Okay? This is a gut check. And I would much rather them get destroyed and get embarrassed at this point in the season rather than for us to wait to the first playoff game and they get bounced and we're all sitting around like, oh my God, what's going on? What happened? Hey, listen, those other guys on the other side, they get paid to play too. Okay. And sometimes those coaches get paid to coach too. And, like my old colleague Barrett Brooks used to say, sometimes, you get the bear, sometimes the bear gets you. The bear got him on Sunday. Okay. Shake it off. And Jalen Hurts' words, you flush it and you move on. That's all you can do. It's done. Doesn't mean that they're not a good team. Doesn't mean that the sky's falling. Doesn't mean that everything that we want this team to accomplish isn't right there before them. It's all right there. It's all about their mindset, their work ethic, and I believe that they're the type of team that's going to bounce back. They traditionally do. They have a bad game, they bounce back the next week. They need to bounce back in a major way because the Dallas Cowboys right now, they're drooling. They think that they can do the same thing to the Eagles that the 49ers did last week. They believe that because you know what? They put up a ton of yards in the first loss. So they're thinking, hey, if the 49ers could do it, we can do it to them. The Eagles better go down there with the mindset that, you know what? You're still the Dallas Cowboys. When it gets to the end of the season, you still find a way to screw it up. Mike McCarthy still figures out ways to make bad decisions in crunch time, at the end of the season. The Dallas Cowboys will be who they are. They will screw it up, and the Eagles will figure out a way and find a way to win this football game. Mark it down. All right? Last question for the night. The Village wants to know, do I agree that we need more traditional run calls and formations instead of RPO? Listen, the RPO is pretty much dead. When was the last time you seen Jalen Hurts pull the ball and take off and run? When was the last time you seen Jalen Hurts, do a run fake, pull it, and throw the RPO behind it. I don't know whether they're saving that, as something for teams that have to continue to prepare for and then not use it. But I do agree we need to get into more traditional sets. I would love to see Jalen Hurts under center a little more and us running the ball with, DeAndre Swift in the dotted position where, he's got time to see what's going on in front of him and make decisions on where he wants to, hit it. Stretch plays, things of that nature. Absolutely. I would love to see that. I would love to see more quick game in our offense, where Jalen is three-stepping, getting that ball out of his hands right now. But yes, I think, we need to run more 12 personnel. You need a healthy Dallas Goedert and another able-bodied tight end on the other side that can actually, give you something. But a more traditional set and Jalen under center, I think would help this offense immensely. Because, not only would it be a situation where it would help DeAndre Swift, in my opinion, where he's not always taking a handoff going across the formation, but, now you can, Jalen can reverse out and you can run the ball right or left. And now you got bootlegs and play action pass off of that. And you got misdirection plays that you could have off of that, that will cause, especially if you're running the ball efficiently. Now that puts pressure on the linebackers because they have to honor the fact that you're running the ball efficiently, but it also puts pressure on the safeties and how they read and how they react, okay? So, yeah, I do agree with that. All right, that's the show for tonight. The sky's not falling. You guys, the Eagles will be okay. I believe that they'll go in and beat the Cowboys. Again, like I said, I believe they'll win this game 32-28 in a tight one. But we're all good. It'll be fine. All right. The sky's not falling. The Eagles will be okay. As we wrap up the show, as usual, you guys be good to each other and take care of each other. But most important, make sure that you love each other. Be right back here next week, same place, same time, as we break down, hopefully, a Philadelphia Eagles win. And then we preview a little bit the trip out to Seattle for Monday Night Football. All right. You guys take care. See you next week. Peace.
Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain. At Mandrecchia Law, we win big personal injury cases, but we always tell our clients up front that those cases almost always hinge on how much insurance coverage people or companies have. At Mandrecchia Law, we don't sell insurance, but we're experts at helping our clients make sure they have the right insurance to protect their businesses and families. Do you have the right insurance? Most people don't. For a consultation, visit mmattorneys.com or call 610-584-0700. Mandrecchia Law, aggressive attorneys who get the job done.
This is Seth Joyner, top analyst for the Birds. I've also analyzed the best auto dealerships, and I drive a Davis Honda.
Fall into savings at Davis Honda. Over 300 cars available. And right now, get rates as low as 0.9% at Davis Honda in Burlington. Plus, you'll get 2 years of free oil changes on every new and used Davis Honda vehicle. See why Davis Honda continues to win outstanding awards for sales and service, including the highest award from Honda, the President's Award. Get to Davis Honda in Burlington.
Fall into savings at Davis Honda. JP Mascaro & Sons is a family-owned, locally operated solid waste service company in business for over 60 years. You've seen the red trucks with the blue elephant that symbolizes strength and reliability. Mascaro is different than other national brands. Like the Birds, Philadelphia is home. They'll take care of all your waste removal needs. They have it all: an experienced workforce, state-of-the-art equipment, a cutting-edge recycling center, and their own disposal facilities. Call 888-MASCARO or visit jpmascaro.com.